Well, Brett, we are live. Brett's just taken off on me. He's had to come back. It is very, very tricky doing these live streams from social distancing awareness, I suppose. Brett is one of the hard parts about it.
Yes.
Firstly, Brett Coffey now joins me live. Just wouldn't mind you actually making a noise for me, Brett.
Yep.
Oh,
Paul, how are you doing?
No, very good. I just wasn't sure if the volume was working, but no, we're all...
It's all good.
We are all good. So we're away. It's a little bit tricky, as we were just saying there before, with this social distancing and doing everything properly. I'm going to pull you up on one thing straight away, mate. You made mention to me last week that Carlton had the bye this week, and yet we seem to be playing right now, and it gets even worse for yourself. So you might get murdered halfway through this production, mate.
I don't know if I'll get murdered. I'll probably get teased and paid out and embarrassed maybe by my wife, who's a West Coast supporter, because we're currently playing West Coast. We're down by 1 point late in the first. So that's not a bad result. A couple of goal to Zach Fisher in his return game, which was nice. But I failed to realise that we had a bye last round, but that round only was sort of midweek. So with the festival of footy, as they're calling it, we didn't actually miss out. So terrible planning by myself, but anyway.
It's all good. It is all good. We've got a lot to get through today. We'll get through a couple of the, I suppose, the important things going along. Desiree's had a go at me because I might have, from time to time, got the website wrong. www.vicharness.breeders.org.au. I may have occasionally put a .com on the end of it. I definitely didn't mean that. It is breeders.org. .au. So anyone looking to get on anything, get onto the website. There you can actually go into the track bred is in there, that's for sure. So it's still online there. I'm actually trying to find one. You reckon I'd have everything up to date? I actually had something else ready to go with the with that, and I don't think I've got it. So that's totally unlike me to be so unorganised, Brett. I can tell you that now. But the Stallion Guide was the one I was trying to have, but I actually haven't got the picture of it up. But the Stallion Guide is available on the website, isn't it now? And it's sensational.
Yeah. Yep. So it's all completed, and it's on the website. It'll be out shortly in people's mailboxes. Absolutely,
but you can get online, and it's pretty cool the way it works this year. You can get interactive with it straight away. You can just click on a stallion that you like, and it'll go straight to the page.
Yep.
I'm one of those people, I sort of like things in your hand a little bit more, I suppose, than technology. But I must say it's really cool the way it works.
Yeah, no, it's really good.
Yeah, definitely.
Desiree and Morris especially done really well there. So it's must read for breeders.
Very good, and we've already got a few people on. I'm not sure why. Sometimes the way I do things. If you want to become a member of the Vic Breeders, all the information's here at Harness Breeders Victoria. $55 is open to everyone, and you just go to vicharnessbreeders.org.au. /membership, and you'll go straight to that page. But as I also said, you just go to the / breeding business and then Stallion Guide, and you'll be able to find that on that page there as well. So that's a pretty simple one to do. Got to look after all of our sponsors, and today Alabar and Neville are the main sponsors bringing this show to you. But every week, mate, we have Barrastock give away 10 bags of feed. And it's greatly appreciated. Andrew Soper, as I did the same to Calf last week, I thought better off having his mug on there than yours, Brett. It makes it look for a lot better. But this week we got a new winner, and obviously we got a new winner. We have new winners all the time. But Murphing is the winner this week. We put a thing in a couple of weeks ago asking people about if you have an alias, please just register your alias. We don't want people not to go in the show because they don't want to use their real name, but please just get in contact with Desiree, and I do know this person has been in touch with both Desiree and Andrew as well, so not here to say who that person is in any way, but yeah, well done to those people for getting involved in that. Mate, today you're talking pedigrees and pedigree matches and how to find them. I think there's going to be, I'm hoping there's going to be a lot of interaction. We've already got a few people came on board, that's for sure. Cam Brown's even watching, so we're in trouble there. So trackbred can be found.
Number one in the game, Cameron Brown.
Trackbred can be found under the Made in Victoria tab at the top of the web page, and the Stallion Guide can be found under breeding businesses. So Desiree's all over me. I've been able to make comments this week, Brett, because you're back on, so we could be in all sorts of trouble. So we've got plenty of people, Peter Ward, Sue Markle, all the regulars. Get involved, because there's another 10 bags of the breeding next week to go away, just simply for the best questions asked, voted by Andrew Soper and Brett Coffey this week, so that'll be it. But this week, actually I've got to go back, I'm on the wrong screen, I've got to get back to one other part that's pretty important about today's show, mate, and that's the prize you get for giving away, just purely for being a member of the Harness Breeders Victoria, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. So, ourselves and Nebula are donating a service to Ultimate Machete. Of course, the son of Better's Delight, full brother to Ultimate Sniper, but, he's a 4-time Group 1 winner himself, New Zealand 3 and 4-year-old of the year. He's got his first, he served his first stud season last year, and he'll have his first foals hopefully in a few weeks, and we're really looking forward to seeing him. But that's the prize for today. So hopefully we can, lucky breeder can get that and breed a future star.
I think it's huge. I think all the prizes that people have been able to get on this show have been just outstanding, and it just gets better and better. I think one of the great things I like about it, I've just got a funny sign come up, but that's okay. I'll just ignore that because we're still going. Is the way all these studs have got involved. I mean, we had a free service fee to Speeding Spur. Empire Stallions gave away, basically you had the choice of 5 stallions, so there was plenty of people. I think it's great, isn't it, the way that all the breeders are getting together?
It is, yeah, and that's a good thing about the breeding industry, and for the most part anyway, that we just all want to, we're all one community, we all want to breed good horses and share in the success of everyone else. Like it's that's a good thing about Vic Breeders at the moment. The committee that we've got there is similar like that in that sort of approach, and so that's a really good thing about Vic Breeders at the moment.
It's a young group of people, and they're keen. So some lucky person, and I know cutting them up every week we get more and more members, which is good. Interstate members, which I think is great. Maybe some of the other states might have to pull their socks up and do something as well. I know. Today there was a few that were definitely not Victorians, which is just terrific, I think, anyway. And make a few of the other states maybe stand up and have a little look. Brett, you're going to talk about the breeding scene. We've got to change screens. I've actually got to change that one as well for you. So we'll change over to that, so it's a bit easier. But you'll go to the full screen. And the one problem we had when we did this one with Nick Hooper, I told people last time, can be a little bit tricky that Brett may not see me asking a question. So if you fired a question in and I haven't asked it, just be a bit patient. We'll just get back to it once Brett sees it. I'm ready to talk, or even at the end of it, and we can go backwards and forwards. We won't go as long as Nick, I don't believe, will we, Brett?
No, absolutely not. Well, unless Carlton's getting flogged, and maybe I'll just stay here speaking for the next 4 hours.
but we will go. We'll go as long as people fire questions in too. So use the opportunity. I mean, Brett's one of the best in the business. How long have you been at Alabar, mate?
Well, I've got long service leave, so that tells you how long that is. So at least 10 years. So yeah.
Very, very good. Barristock are getting plenty of love off the messages too, which is terrific. So and we've got a heap of people tuned in, Brett. So there's a bit of pressure on you, mate. So I'll hand over to you, and as I said, we'll try and fire the questions through as people ask them. But we're looking forward to this, mate. That's for sure.
Excellent. All right. Thanks very much, Paul. I'll just get this going.
Gets a little bit tricky, this, doesn't it? You've got to be very computer savvy sometimes with these things. So,
yeah. So hopefully that's up on the screen now.
Yep.
So we're just going to talk today about breeding matches and pedigrees. The first thing, just wanted to say was it's not an exact science. So there's it was, we'd all be breeding champions, but they're elusive, the champions. So we've got to, you do your research and you cross your fingers, but you do need that element of luck as well. Do your research. That's the most important part. I always, find it, you just got to do that. Do your homework. You're spending, you're going to be spending thousands of dollars in this foal, or hopefully foal, and hopefully a champion. But so realistically, if you're going to spend thousands of dollars, well, you should be doing your homework and putting everything you can into that foal. And the final point there I just wanted to make before we get started was have realistic expectations. We all dream about that champion, dream about breeding a Ride High or a Lazarus or a Tornado Valley or something like that. But they're few and far between, and that's what makes them so satisfying when you do get to breed a horse like that. But set yourself realistic expectations, and then you less chance of getting disappointed, I suppose.
I think if you
there's some breeding terms, probably the most common ones that we use in the game. I probably don't agree. I probably don't place huge amounts of value in some of these, but there's still terms that you need to know if you want to talk the lingo, I suppose. When we're talking about a 3x4 or 3x4 cross, that refers to the cross and which generation the cross occurs. So I'll go through that in a little bit. Inbred, line bred, outcross, golden cross / mix, and the RASMUSSEN factor there. So in this case, we've got King of Swings Pedigree. Obviously, the current Grand Circuit star. He carries a number of crosses there, as you can see. They're highlighted in the blue here. I'm going to look at the crosses of Abercrombie there. So he's got a 4x4x3 cross to Abercrombie. Now, what I mean by that is he's got a cross here to Abercrombie, which is in the 4th generation. So we've got the 1st generation, Rockmore Hanover, 2nd generation, Western Ideal. Western Ideal's dam is Leah Elmhurst is in the 3rd, and then Abercrombie, her sire, is in the 4th. So we've got 4x4x3. So once you understand that, it makes it a little bit easier and makes it easier to communicate, I suppose, your pedigrees with people.
So,
here's one. Yep.
Sorry, no, I was just going to quickly go back to that. So you go 4x4x3. So that's because there's three lots in the 4. Is that how? So you obviously the first one doesn't count. Yeah. So then you got 2 lots of 4 and then 3 lots of 4 is how that works. Is that right?
No, just looking at Abercrombie there specifically. So King of Swing's got 3 crosses or 3 doses of Abercrombie in his pedigree.
Yep.
So we're just specifically talking about Abercrombie there. So the 4x4x3. He's obviously got multiple crosses of Albatross there in the 5th and the 4th dam, and then obviously a lot more Meadow Skipper and Most Happy Fowler and a few others, Overtrick and those sort of stallions, but. Just looking at Abercrombie there when I was talking about the 4x4x3.
I need to
just helps you to identify the crosses and where they are.
I just need to apologise. Sorry, I didn't realise the bottom one was Albatross. My screen is very small, what I'm viewing this on, and then I just looked at another.
Okay, sorry,
screen. Sorry about that. So
I'm looking on a computer screen. So if you're looking at it on your phone or on a small screen, it is going to get pretty tight or pretty small in the back pedigree, generations there. So I apologise for that in advance.
That's
inbred. There's varying different definitions. People say within 4 generations. Other people say within 3 generations. So you've got multiple crosses of the same horse within, say, 3 generations. This one, obviously, El Presidente would know very well. Utopia. He got a mention. Got several mentions in Nick's breeds that succeed. But so he's bred 3x2 to Muscles Yankee. So. Technically, his Utopia is inbred to Muscles Yankee. Being perfectly honest, it's not a mating I would have done, but Nick and Paul have done it, and had great success doing it. But and you do see it a little bit more in the trotters. They tend to be a bit more inbred than the paces, especially American trotters, I should say. And especially to that Valley Victory line, which Muscles Yankee is obviously a son of Valley Victory. Very dominant sire Valley Victory in terms of sire of sires, also dam sire, just a tremendous stallion. And the trotters, you'll see a lot of inbred to him, which is good, leads to a lot of speed. it's also been a bit of a negative on the trotting breed because a lot of his sons and that sire line has fertility problems. So you'll see a lot of those stallions that do have a lot of early victory in them will be, sub-fertile.
Feeding them.
Not Mustard Yankee though. Mustard Yankee was very fertile.
Right.
Yeah.
Just
so those sort of things do travel on the sire lines.
Okay, so fertility runs on the sire line, so it can keep coming all the way through.
Yeah, it can do. Yep. It doesn't always, but it is a heritable trait, and you often see, the arts play sire line is generally regarded as a fertile sire line. Most pacing sire lines are pretty fertile. The direct scooter one was one that isn't as fertile, but yeah, you'll see a lot of the trotters in America, especially. Not so much in, I don't know about France, whether they're obviously less inbred in France, and but yeah, the American trotters, you'll see some of them anyway, yeah, with lower fertility than what you'd expect.
Beautiful.
Here's one that's line bred. So line bred, this is where it sort of gets a little bit, I don't know whether these definitions are totally apt in the current environment or what we're dealing with now, but line bred means basically two crosses to the same horse. So in this case, I've picked Lineup, who's obviously a superstar 3-year-old, probably the best 3-year-old in Australia. He's line bred to Meadow Skipper through Better Delight. Obviously, Better Delight, Cam's Card Check, Cam Fella, Most Happy Fella, Meadow Skipper, Beach Parade, Beach Towel, French Chef, Meadow Skipper. I think line bred is a little bit, I think it's a little bit of an antiquated term nowadays because everything is line bred to some degree. There's, we've all got multiple, every horse just about's got multiple crosses somewhere in its first 5 generations, if not 3 or 4 generations. So, but that's the term you'll hear a lot.
Yep.
The other term, I've gone back, is outcross. Now this is a lot more common, back when I started looking at pedigrees when I was a little tacker, but you don't see it as much anymore. And I had to dig deep to find a horse that, a current horse that didn't have any common duplications in its first 5 generations. So if we look at Winterfell, obviously a really good, trotter, Inter Dominion winner, by Majestic Sun, who is obviously a trotter, but Winterfell's got a predominantly pacing bred dam, I should say. For whatever reason, she's been a tremendous broodmare of trotters, but so that's why you've got an outcross there, because you've got a trotting bred sire over a pacing bred dam, and thrown a really good trotter, and she's thrown multiple good trotters as well, been a really good broodmare in a Bromax. So, but that's what we're talking about when we're talking about an outcross, one that doesn't have any common duplications within its first 5. So if we go back 6 generations, this horse has got a 6x5 to Tar Heel, and a 6x6 to Victory Song. But if you're looking at a modern day pedigree, that's as outcross as you're going to get.
Does the outcross work?
So, yeah, it can do. Yeah, I mean, it's none of these things that in amongst themselves, you say work, but no, like there's a lot of breeders that do try and outcross as much as they can. I remember, as a youngster looking at different pedigrees and stuff like that, and Brittany Farms was always a stud in America. Very, probably the most, well, not the most successful because Hanover's the most successful, but one of the really top line breeding farms in the US, and they always tended to try and outcross more than some of the other studs, I thought. So you can't get a proper outcross much anymore, because we're just the horses have too many common ancestors. It just doesn't happen much anymore unless you're doing something like this where you've got a pacing over a trotting or a trotter over a pacer. There are a few of those around, but so I tend to now refer to an outcross type pedigree where you try and get an outcross as much as you can, but it's still if you can get a few crosses in your first 4 generations, well, you're probably doing pretty well. That's probably more of an outcross type pedigree than that's as good as you're going to get just about these days. So unless as we mentioned before, the French, we're obviously getting a lot more French trotting stallions through Pat, Driscoll, Harasta trotters. we put them over some of our trotting mares. You're going to get that more outcross type pedigree, but you're still going to get duplications of Speedy Crown and maybe Star's Pride or something like that as well. But it's going to be further back, so that's probably the best chance you're going to get for an outcross type now is getting that fresh blood into our trotting population. So they're those terms. Here's another term, Golden Cross. We hear this often. It's a bit more of a marketing term, if we're being honest. I put that in with Golden Cross, nicks or crosses, those type of terms that we use. Basically, it just refers to the sire over the dam sire. So if we're looking at, say, the betters like Christian Cohen, it's always that type of cross is always referred to as a Golden Cross, and it has produced a heap of good horses. I've got Chicago Bull here, but I could have easily had Lazarus or multiple other horses. Bella Montana, of course, horses like that. So it's a bit of a marketing term that probably, stud owners and yearling vendors come up with to sell their horses. But it basically just refers, if we're just talking about Golden Crosses or nicks or crosses just generally, we're just talking about the sire over a dam sire. So Betters Light over Christian Cullen, other successful ones, maybe an Art Major over an Arbor Operative mare, or Rock and Roll Hanover over Arts Place mares. Those sort of crosses. It's an pretty easily identified cross that you can look up and you can substantiate what that cross has produced. So it's not the be all and end all, but it's a quick way of narrowing down, I suppose, stallion choices as well as all yearling choices if you're at the sales. And definitely, Betters Delight over Christian Cullen has produced so many good horses, so it's probably the one that is definitely deserving of the Golden Cross title.
I'm fortunate enough, I've seen Chicago Bull in person, and he might be the Golden Cross, but they must have nearly cried, I reckon, when they seen him come out, because he's only a little tacker, but it's proven to be right anyway. So.
He's only tiny, isn't he? Yeah. But, so many betters are, on the smaller side, but doesn't stop them running. They're really good performers. Like a bit of a legend. I always remember him. He was a superstar, but he wasn't much of him.
No.
But yeah. The RASMUSSEN factor. Now, this refers to the duplication of female line or female families. So in this case, I got the Storm inside. Both his sire and his dam are from the same family. So I've got Rock and Roll Hanover there. His third dam is Shifting Sands, who's a daughter of Golden Miss, very famous mare in America. And then Spirited Storm, her, fourth dam is Shifting Sands. So we've got a 4x5 cross there to Shifting Sands. So basically, Helen Head, who bred the Storm inside, put Rock and Roll Hanover, probably for a couple of reasons, over Spirited Storm. One, because you got the Rock and Roll Hanover over the Arts Place mare, very successful cross. Then also because they're from the same family. And duplicating this family has sort of had has had success in the past. Like it's a bit debatable, whether you believe in the Rasmussen factor or not. There's varying theories out there around it. There has, though, been some success with doing this crossing of the Golden Miss family. So you've got, horses like Tell All's bred this similar way, and then you've had horses like Make Me Smile, so who's by Grin from Ear to Ear, over a Panorama mare, who are both from that family as well. So it does work in certain circumstances, I should say. It's not like the be all and end all for me though, but I think it could be an added bonus, I suppose, if for breeders out there if they can get that in their pedigree.
I would imagine there's a couple of issues with that though too. Would be one, you have to have that pedigree for a start. Like it's not like you can say, I want to try a line breed or an inbreed. This Rasmussen factor, you must have, like you said, Helen Head's got that maternal family, so she can do that. But not everyone's going to have that similar bloodlines, are they?
No. So you can sort of get it a little bit if you like Make Me Smile was by Grin from Ear to Ear out of a Panorama mare. So they got that Rasmussen through Grin from Ear to Ear and the Panorama in their mare. So you can do it that way. I think though what we probably will see it a bit more often now when we're since we're using a lot more of these locally bred stallions, you may see that this Rasmussen pop up a little bit more. Yeah, I know. We've got a fair few debuting this year, whether it be the Storm Inside or Tiger Tara, Poster Boy, horses like that. And I'm going to so Tribeca, horses like that. Well, there's the potential that they may cross over some of their mares, some mares from their family. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it might do. So it's another, opportunity, I suppose, for breeders out there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future.
Yep. Jenny Lewis has just joined us. She's asked if she can ask some basic questions. We will get to that in a sec, Jen. I will definitely look through your questions and ask them to Brett. We'll let him probably finish this. Just quickly, Brett, back on the Rasmussen theory before we go too far. How did it get its name? Like, who is the gentleman that it's named after?
That's a great question. You got me on the spot there.
Sorry.
No, I'm trying to think now. It's been a while since I've even read into it. Yeah, I'm not actually sure. Maybe I'll look that up when we're asking questions later. But yeah, that's a good question. I'm not 100% certain how they got that name.
Maybe some of our viewers missed the Presidente. He might know the answer. I don't know.
Yeah, well, he definitely knows. He definitely knows that sort of stuff. So yeah. So I just thought I'd go through some things about if you're looking to breed. I always think these are three things that are important to do. I think start with the best mare, and then research, and then identify patterns. Now, by start with the best mare, I mean start with the best mare that you can afford. We can't all go out and afford to buy the best mare off the racetrack, or the best bred mare. But I think it's important to start with the best mare that you can afford. And mares, the three characteristics, I think you look for: a pedigree, performance, and type. And I think you need to purchase as much of those three as you can. Now, you may be sacrificing one of them, or not being able to get peak pedigree, but you might be able to get a really good race mare or good type. All those things are really important. I think we talk about crosses and what stallions suit what mares. I think if you don't start with a good mare, you're not going to get the optimal result. I think the mare is super important. So I think really concentrate on the mares that you're breeding and try and get the best mares that you can for what you can afford.
Which
research
one,
part of it, I think. Yeah.
So which one do you put most emphasis in, Brett? Do you put all three equal?
That's a great question. Pedigree's probably the most important. I think you need a good pedigree. I'm a big believer in performance though as well, probably over more than other people or some other people.
Yep.
A lot of the mares that I like to breed out of or bought for Alabar or whatever have been, either really good race mares or mares that have shown some ability, race winning mares or, group performed mares. I think a couple of things. I do think they give you a better chance of producing a good racehorse. And secondary to that, I think it does help you when you go to a yearling sale, which is obviously what Alabar are doing with a lot of their horses. But I do think it does, in the first part there, I do think a good race mare will give you a better chance of leaving a good, racehorse.
Yep. But
you still need the pedigree there as well, and type's important. Types. Obviously we're talking about pedigrees here, but type's super important. You need to, produce a horse that looks like a racehorse, and can sustain, multiple seasons of racing without breaking down or, those sort of things as well. So I think that's an underrated thing as well, type and a brood mare.
Yep.
Research. These are a few things I just wrote down in terms of, doing your research. And this doesn't actually relate to specific matings or whatever, but I think it's just important. And I suppose this is what I've done over the years and continue to do. Study pedigrees. You see a good horse, you win a good race or whatever. Go, get online, look up its pedigree, see what the crosses are there, see how it's bred, go through its dams and its grand dam and see what they've left and all that sort of stuff. Just study pedigrees as much as you can. Follow what successful breeders do. I think that's really important. I know it's what I used to do as a kid, when you used to, in WA, Doc Dewar, who bred all the Whitby horses, I used to always look through he used to always breed good horses. look through their pedigrees, see what they've done. Obviously, my dad and my mum, very successful breeders as well, of horses, not of, well, they're running 50-50 in terms of their own offspring, but they've bred a lot of good horses, and I think that's probably helped me out, obviously. But as I said, Brittany Farms, I used to look through all their pedigrees as well and see what they're doing. Hanover, just look through the good horses, see how they're bred, and really get an understanding of their pedigrees.
Yep.
There's plenty of stuff, whether it be in track bred or online, interviews. There's books out there. We've obviously got Nick's Fantastic Stallions book, but also I remember the two books I used to love reading when I was a kid and they're a bit outdated now, but they're still valuable. I still go back to them a little bit. It's the modern trotting style lines, I think it was called, and the modern pacing style lines. They're both written by a guy called John Bradley in America. I used to love reading them. They're just anything you can read about, and it doesn't even have to be pace standardbreds as well. Read about how the thoroughbred breeders do their stuff as well, and it's while you're talking about different horses, you're still talking about horses and how they their pedigree structure and their type and all that sort of stuff. It's all important. I think you get that wealth of knowledge through just reading and looking and observing. And then I suppose the last point there is actually looking at the stallions. It's a little bit, it's obviously harder now than it used to be when you had to take your mare to the stallion, but you can still get to the stud. You can still watch. There's a heap more race footage of these stallions now, and you can go to the stud and look at the stallion if you want to as well, the ones that are here. Look at the yearlings. Go to the yearling sales and just look around. Go and inspect all these horses, and you can see what sort of types the stallions are throwing. Or you might even, you might be even able to, if you look at the mare line and see what sort of yearlings, if there's enough of them in there, that the dam lines are throwing as well. So go to the racetrack and just look at them. Like most trainers are, happy for you to come and look at their horses, just want to buy if you're not interrupting, before the race or whatever. You can see them walking around the parade ring or watch it on Trots TV, watch the parade ring on Trots TV. But all that sort of stuff's important, and I think it's just building up that knowledge bank. So when you go, I've got this mare, she's a bit fine or she's a bit small or whatever, you go, I know that, I don't know, Poster Boy was a great looking horse. Maybe he'd cross well with her, or, she needs a bit of height, so maybe I'll go to Art Major or something like that. I don't know. Like, all those sort of things are just, I think, important, and it just gives you that extra bit of knowledge that it gives you, might give you an advantage when you're trying to breed your mare.
You say about you say about doing your research and all the rest. Like, you watch a day like today with Hambletonian Day. Like, even 2 or 3 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to see the footage. I'm sure most people have looked through the pedigree of just about every winner at that day already, like 16 races, and that it's a different world now, isn't it?
No, exactly, and that's the advantage we've got. Like, I mean, I perhaps stupidly got up at like 2:30 or something and watched most of the program, and then in between races and preparing this, I looked up the pedigrees of the winners and stuff, and you just get an idea. Like, you don't have to remember it all, but if you get that idea and then you can go, hang on a minute, that was something, it triggers you back in your memory, and you go back and look further, and stuff like that. Even like one of the runners in the Hamiltonian, not that this is really that important, but it was a horse called Amigo Volo who ran a really good race and probably should have finished closer if he got some traffic trouble. But his family, I think it was a New Zealand mare that got exported to the US, and I never knew that, so that was pretty cool. Like, and he's from the family that what I call the Hest family. I don't know if it's got a proper name down here, but you see all those good trotters with the last name Hest. He's from that family. I didn't know that. So you learn these things, and it might be useless most of the time, but when you're coming to breed your mare, it might be able to help you, breed a better horse.
And that's one thing we're trying to do with this segment, though, is get people to breed horses for a start, but actually breed better and smarter, and try and minimise the risks, I suppose, that we face, and that going forward. So simply what you just said then, being able to go through and find all the pedigrees and then trace it back to Australia, it's invaluable, isn't it, really?
It is, yeah.
Yep.
And this is something that really I think is important, and this is what I base a lot of my I suppose decisions and breeding decisions on is identifying patterns in pedigrees. So we talked about, line bred, outcross, inbred, all that sort of stuff. And this is probably something that Nick touched on as well, but I like to look at a pedigree and identify where the main points are and identify the patterns of the pedigree and see if we can duplicate that. And I just got it right high. Obviously, the talking horse at the moment. And I know his pedigree, and I looked at it. Like, hang on a minute, this looks a little bit familiar. And you look at right high, he's obviously got Art Major on top. He's got Live or Die here. Now, the Art Major Live or Die cross has actually been quite good. There's been a number of good horses bred on that, and from limited amount of foals. But yeah, it's been quite a good cross. And then you've got obviously Presidential Ball down here as well. So also Art Major's crossed really well with Presidential Ball mares, but. You've got No Nukes and Cam Fowler there on the dam line, the first two sort of sire lines there on the maternal side. And then I thought, that sounds familiar. And then you look at Vincent's pedigree. Now, Vincent's got the same. He's got the No Nukes there and the Cam Fowler there. So different stallions, obviously, but, Safely Kept and Arbor Operative versus Live or Die and Presidential Ball. But still those two same sire lines there. And that's something that you go, oh, you keep that in your memory bank, and then if you've got a mare that has these same sire lines, you go, well, Art Major might be a choice for her. I think just these sort of patterns, they always emerge, and they're when you see them, you I don't know, you just store it away, and you and I think it's invaluable sort of information. So I've got a few more pedigrees here that sort of have those, looking at those sort of things. Now, Bourbon, who won, was super impressive last night. If we look at this type of pedigree here, there's not a lot of duplications in this pedigree, which is the trotter again over Armbro Invasion, obviously a trotting stone, but you've got Noodland down here and Armbro Dell pacing. The rest of his family sort of pacing, but you've got this cross here in the middle of the pedigree, this Speedy Crown, and that type of cross there in the middle of the pedigree is what I really aim for. I think in a lot of times that you see this duplication in the middle of the pedigree, whether it be the dam sire of the sire or along here the second sire in this case, Speedy Crown. It's very prevalent, and you'll see it often. And even with when the King of Swing before, he had that duplication of Abercrombie in the middle of the pedigree. Obviously, Rock and Roll Hanover's second dance by Abercrombie, and out of an Arts Place mare who's by Abercrombie. So it's very similar sort of cross there. Lochinvar Art obviously didn't go as well as what we all would have hoped last night, but he's got that same duplication in the middle of the pedigree as well. No Nukes, Modern Arts out of a No Nukes mare. Honda is obviously a No Nukes line stallion. So you've got that duplication there, which you see it too often for it not to be an important thing. Now he's obviously got that duplication of Wendy May Hanover. I'm not sure the importance of that there, but the No Nukes definitely I think is important. Now Bling It On, he's a obviously a superstar pacer. He is line bred to No Nukes. You see here he's got American Ideal over the Caprock mare, so he's got a 4x4 to No Nukes.
Yep.
And also a duplication of Albatross there as well. But No Nukes, tremendous speed influence as a stallion, and you see it too often. This line breeding to No Nukes it's been a really good sort of pattern to copy. You just see it time and time again. Rock and Roll Heaven's the same. Now he's obviously a little bit further removed, but still he's crossed really well with No Nukes line mares. This is my Mackenzie, but there's been others, Western Ideal lines. Like so that duplication of No Nukes there on the sidelines is something that's been really prevalent. And then if you look at her pedigree, she's also got the Abercrombie and the Cam Fowler there. Abercrombie, Cam Fowler, and the maternal lines of Mackenzie. I don't know. I think it's important. You can never tell 100%, but I think that's a really nicely matched pedigree, and that's she's a really nice race mare, obviously. So these sort of patterns. Ultra Orlando. Now this one here has Courage on the Fire, obviously, out of a Vance Hanover mare, out of an Adios, a Dundee Adios mare. So you've got Albatross and Adios line there in his maternal pedigree. If we look down here, Gerardo Hanover, Albatross, Meadow Vance, Adios. So you've got that duplication of maternal lines again. And I just think these sort of patterns you just got to look at, and you've got to observe, and you just put it away, and because it happens too often, these sort of patterns. And I think these are the things you just got to look for in pedigrees, and this is how I do it anyway. And everyone's got a differing view, but this is how I sort of look at them. Now this is one. Father Patrick's obviously an American stallion, great trotting stallion. Available through Neville Yard. We don't stand him, unfortunately. Have his frozen semen, but Alabar's bred a couple of mares to him, and I wanted to figure out what sort of mares he crosses well with. And because we've got a couple of mares in foal to him, I think, and we're going to breed a couple more this year. But so I looked at his best progeny. Now, Greenshoe, obviously tremendous trotter, retired to Hanover Shoe Farm, one of the best trotters that we've seen in recent times. His dam line is the Garland Lobel sire line out of a Valley Victory mare. So this is something that's been super prevalent with Father Patrick. There's two main patterns with Father Patrick. So far, like he's only got 4-year-olds, so things could change. But early on, these are the two patterns: the Garland Lobel out of a Valley Victory line mare, which he has those two lines in his pedigree, or Amigo Volo, as I also mentioned before, is by Valley Victory out of a Garland Lobel mare. So it's either the two patterns are either Garland Lobel out of a Valley Victory or Valley Victory out of a Garland Lobel, and it just matches up with those two lines in his pedigree. It's really quite. When I saw it, I thought, oh, hang on, this is just, it's too obvious, but it's just what it is. Like that's what he's crossing with so far, and it may change. And obviously we've got different sire lines down here to them, and maybe he might cross really well with Sundog mares or stuff like that. But in America, they're the two patterns that are really emerged with his progeny.
Yep.
And this is the last pedigree that I've shown. And this is one I bred, or Dad and I bred, and Joe as well. And he wasn't as good as his sister Nostravilla, this guy, but he was a really good horse in Perth. A Group 1 winner over there, and a really good 2-year-old before he had some soundness issues. After his 3-year-old days, but he's a really good horse. And it's probably the best pedigree I reckon I've constructed. And I can't take all the credit for it because I'm sure Dad had a lot of influence in it as well. But if we look here in the middle of the pedigree, we've got duplication of Meadow Skipper there. Then we've got Brett Hanover. Then we've got the Albatross. And then we've got the Adios and the Tar Heel, Adios Tar Heel. And to me, that's as schmicker pedigree as you're going to get. And I'm glad it worked. I just thought that's probably my shining grace as a breeder, I suppose, and he turned out to be a good horse, so it was good. But those are the sort of patterns that I like. That's a pedigree that I just really love. That you've got the crosses in the middle, and they sort of fan out, and I don't know. It's a really good pattern, I reckon, and really good crosses in there.
Were you were you tempted to keep him as a colt?
No. We sold him at a sale, and Annie Belton and Colin Belton bought him at the sale, and no. Once we sold him, that's up to them to do, and So, but he was a really good racehorse. He's a good 2-year-old especially, and the pedigree I've always been proud of, I suppose. So this is whether I move looking for my own mares, or I've got a couple of mares with Cameron Brown as well, but or Alabars, or when people ring up and say, what should I bring the mare to? This is 3 things I sort of do: study the mare's pedigree, look at what her main points, and then look at that, and look at the crosses, look at what's worked with her sire, just to sort of narrow it down. And there might be some obvious clues there. And then you start your matching. Now you go through your test mating or your stallion selector, which Nick sort of mentioned online, and look for those patterns, and hopefully duplicate some of those maternal lines in the stallion in your mare. So I've just got one mare here, a mare called DEBNITA Rose, who's owned by a friend in New Zealand called Johnny Turner. She's a match. He
was on before.
So, what was that, sorry?
He was on before. He was our first viewer.
Yeah, there you go. give her a shout out. She's a Mach 3 mare, and I find them interesting. That they're obviously a very good stallion, and they're sort of crossing with a few different things, and it's sort of a bit interesting. Out of a Camfella line mare. So when I look at this pedigree, we've got Mach 3 here. We've got some Abercrombie and Most Happy Fella there. Now you look at her pedigree, she's got some Camfella there, Most Happy Fella Camfella, some Albatross, another dose of Brett Hanover there. So you've got the direct scooter, you've got Abercrombie, you've got Most Happy Fella Camfella there, some Albatross, and then some Brett Hanover there. So these are the sort of things I'm looking at when I'm looking at this pedigree. Now, DEBNITA's had one foal and is in foal. So the first foal, I think I talked to Johnny about it, and looked at those, and then now look at the crosses. What's worked with Mach 3 mares? Now this is just a simple. I'd probably go into a bit more depth and look at how many foals each of these stallions have had, and then if you've got say 10 foals, you can start to sort of see whether it's relevant or not. But just quickly looking through down here, the first two there are by Rock and Roll Heaven.
Yep.
Got Safari and Better's Delight, both Camfella line stallions. Better's has actually left in New Zealand. I haven't got this up on the PowerPoint, but in New Zealand, Better's has crossed, probably the best with Mach 3 mares.
Yep.
Got Shadow Play there, Western Hanover line stallion with actually Mach 3 and on his maternal line as well. Sports Rider Arts Place. This one's Richmond Sports, Falcon Sealster. So you've the Falcon Sealster and Mach 3, or the direct scooter, cross really well together, and you can reverse that and have really good results. Christian Cullen, Rock and Roll Heaven again. You've got Art Major. You go down the line. Rock and Roll Heaven's definitely overrepresented, represented there. You've got Art Major, Better's Delight, Art Major. So you sort of get an idea there, but the Rock and Roll Heaven does seem to be overrepresented, and so does Better's Delight, and probably Art Major, but a bit further down. So this is DEBNITA first foal actually went to Rock and Roll Heaven. So I think it's a really good cross. If you look at this pedigree, you've got direct scooter, Abercrombie, Camfella, direct scooter, Abercrombie, Camfella. So this to me is a really good pedigree. And I hope it works out well. But Rock and Roll Heaven has crossed really well with Mach 3 mares, and I think it's because you're combining that direct scooter and Abercrombie there in that middle of the pedigree sort of thing, and then you've got this added bonus of Camfella, which I think is really important. A lot of Rock and Roll Heaven's best performers have that Most Happy Fella in the bottom of this pedigree down here. So, and she actually, her next foal, she's in foal now to Betting Line, who's a son of Better's Delight. So I think that's another good option. Obviously, Better's Delight would have been a good option for her as well. I'm not sure why they went to Betting Line over Better's. Probably just a financial thing, I suppose, though. Yep. But Betting Line I think will be a good option for her as well, because you're still going to that Camfella line with her. So that's sort of how I look at a pedigree, and that's probably the end of the looking at the pedigrees and that sort of thing. But I hope that's helpful. That's sort of how I look at it, though, and
it's
patterns, I reckon. That's how I look at it anyway.
I've got a heap of questions. I actually got to get. I had a little bit of trouble because my screen's very small to see, so I'm trying to keep up with you. And people at home might not be aware of this, that Facebook is actually behind, so I couldn't keep up with everything that Nick was saying. But we've got a heap of questions. But I'll actually start with Noel Ridge. I've got to get to Jenny Lewis because she asked a couple there, and I've got to get to those. But does size matter? Now, anyone that doesn't know Noel Ridge, he knows his breeding inside out as well. He's big on the line breeding and all the rest. So these will be questions that I think he's put a bit of thought into. But do you factor size in, especially with betters?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. No, and that's, we're just looking at the pedigree side of it, but you've got to breed the type as well. And and it depends probably a bit if you're going to go to the sales or you're going to go to the racehorse. As we said, there's been a lot of small betters that are really good racehorses. Even that mare Emma Stewart's got at the moment.
My Better Lady.
God, I can't remember.
My Better Lady.
She's as small as they get.
Yep.
No, she's tiny, but she's bloody good. Like she's excellent.
The other horse we're just talking about, Chicago Bull.
Exactly. Is a genuine superstar but he's tiny. But it doesn't stop him running. Like, they're good. They can still be good and small. Remember Patricia for Andy Gath, like he was as small as they get as well, but he could run. So you have to take type into consideration though, and height, and also, you know, the bone structure, the muscular structure of the horses, what you're looking to breed, you know, and you can also, I suppose, you know, not every mare's perfect, so you don't want to breed the same faults. If a stire's got a fault and a mare's got a fault, you don't want to cross those together. You probably want to try and breed those faults out of the mare if possible.
Yep. Jenny Lewis's question here. Jen, these are the questions we want. She goes, I'm very uneducated. That's what this whole webinars are for when it comes to breeding. So may I ask some basic questions if that's okay? And of course you can. I've got a small trotting mare. Should I be looking for a larger stallion, or won't it have any bearing on the foal's size?
Good question. It depends a little bit. So you will get some mares that will not throw a big foal no matter what you breed them to. And that's probably, you want to have an idea of the family history of that. You know, sometimes you can have a small mare out of a family that's generally large, but for whatever reason your mare's small, and those larger genes, if that's the right term, will come through. But you may be from a small family and you may never get a big foal out of that mare. I'd always be reluctant to breed a really big stallion to a small mare just for the physical constraints of a mare having a foal. You don't want to, you know, have issues foaling. So, and that's not just all about height. There's obviously pelvic size and that sort of thing that come into play there as well. But without getting too into the weeds, it's I'd probably be looking at breeding a medium-sized stallion to a smaller mare just to try and upgrade it a bit, but not. I'd be reluctant to breed a really big stallion to a smaller mare or to a small mare. Yeah.
Yep, but not set in stone, that's for sure. Nellie Melba.
No.
We are trying to bring some European blood into the small breeding venture, looking for speed. Do you think more European crosses are the best way to improve our trotters?
Great question. I don't know if I can give you an honest answer there. I mean, I'm trying to learn more about the European trotters, and I think I am, but I don't know them as well, anywhere near as well as the American trotters. And I think it depends on what sort of speed you're looking for. Like, American trotters to me are still, if you want juvenile speed, I think they're still the way to go. But I think, you know, yeah, there's a lot of good French options out there now that will give you speed, but it might potentially could take longer. It's just hard to know because they don't race their horses that much as 2-year-olds over there. So maybe if you gave them the opportunity, maybe they would be better 2-year-olds. I just don't know. Like, it's and yeah, I'd be lying if I said I knew you know French trotting pedigrees is anywhere near as well as I know American trotting pedigrees.
Going forward, we might be able to get yourself and Nick on probably at the same time and fire questions either way, maybe down the path post COVID-19, of course, because we're stuck in a little bit of isolation at the minute here. Sue Markle, not enough genetic diversity for standardbreds. Diversity in modern standardbreds to get a proper outcross. Probably true too that our breeding has changed, but we're also doing a lot more colonial and the likes now. Just trying to get through everyone.
Yeah. And there's always in the past there's always been a stallion that will come along that, you know, like a Mach 3 or you know, Christian Cullen, that direct scooter line anyway, that, you know, you do get a bit more of an outcross, and that'll come. It does eventuate at some point. But yeah, there is a lack of diversity at the moment, I suppose, or there's less diversity, I should say.
You'll be happy to know Johnny Turner said hello. There's a lot of questions being fired in. I'm just trying to get through them. I've got 7 new ones, so just give me a second. Now I've got a computer issue.
Yeah, you're right.
No, someone wrote through before computer issues, and I didn't have too many. Now I'm having a few issues everywhere, but we're getting there. Courage Under Fire, his nickname was Mighty Mouse, and he still left nice size horses. There was one last night, Fire Rock, Fire Roll. He's a lovely cut of a horse, so it doesn't always mean that that's the case, does it?
No, not at all. And I think with Courage, like it didn't with him. Even if you bred a smaller mare to him, it didn't really, like, he never threw midgets, if that makes sense. Like, he didn't throw really tiny horses. He always just threw that sort of, never probably threw really big horses, but he always just sort of threw that nice medium size a lot of the time anyway. And that's, yeah, it can come down to each individual stallion as well.
Yep, very good. I'm trying to get there. We've got Greg Hargraves on the line, Dr. Greg, so be interested if he fires a question into us, Brett. We've got a few people saying Calm the Blues. I think we're going okay, mate, but I'm not going to moz us, that's for sure.
You're up at half time.
Yeah, I saw that. We're not going to. Is it okay to choose a stallion that has been successful and just hope? But
yeah, it's okay. Anyway, like as I said, you set your expectations. Like it's okay, of course. I think I'd rather do some more research into it, but yeah, like, you know, as long as you have realistic expectations about it, and you're willing to spend that sort of money, and then that's fine. Of course it is.
Jenny Lewis asked, is there a recognised Golden Cross with the Trotters? And Jared Maloney has put through Majestic Sun over a Sundon Mare, and the likes. That's I'm not doubting Jared for any such, but
yeah, well, Jared bred Royal Charlotte on that cross, who's the Australian 3-year-old filly of the year. But yeah, no, like Sundon's been a just a remarkably successful stallion, both as a sire and now as a broodmare sire. So Majestic Sun over Sundon mares has worked really well. Love You over Sundon mares has worked really well in New Zealand. So they're two, what I call golden crosses, I suppose, from the trotting breed.
I think Sundon works terrific here in Australia. The one thing about Sundon, with Greg Hargraves on there before, is not a lot of Sundon stallions because they weren't easy to handle. So the mares definitely get a bigger run, but they So I think Danny Boucher does a good job for the limited stock that he's got, but you won't find too many other Sundon stallions for that reason. Sue Markle, when deciding on a sire, how much emphasis do you put on the age? And do you think this affects the genetics outcome over time? So an old stallion or an old mare, do you subscribe to that theory?
I tend to subscribe to it more with the mares, which is maybe unfair. I'm not sure. I think, like, if we look at, but no, generally I probably prefer a younger stallion as well. But you see with Betters and Art Major and Mac 3 as well before he died, like they were still. Well, they're still leaving good horses and good young horses as well nowadays in the latter part of their career. But there's enough research out there, especially with the mares, but also with the stallions as well. That generally the younger, you've got a better chance of getting a better foal. The exception, I suppose, with the mares looks like it. If the mare has left a good horse before, she's still a chance of leaving a good horse later in her life. But generally, a lot of the good horses come out of that sort of first four foals, for whatever reason, whether it's the genetics or whether it's just, I'm not sure, but that has been, there are studies out there that sort of prove that, but not saying that, good horses can't come out of later foals, but it's sort of, I suppose we're just trying to play the percentages a little bit, and but with the stallions, it is an interesting, I suppose, decision, because you've got proven, whether you're looking at Betters or, use Art Major as well, but those older horses, they're both getting up, quite old now, or really old, versus going with a younger horse who's unproven, and you're taking a punt that you're going to get a foal, so it's an interesting dynamic there and an interesting choice for breeders.
Absolutely. So hopefully, Jenny Lewis, that answered your question as well. G's just written here, I love Bling It On. Is one of the issues with breeding being able to separate? We all want to breed a Bling It On. Everyone would love to have bred a Bling It On. There's not a way, but do you have to try and separate it? Do you think you're better off trying to separate it? I know one of your favourite stallions, I think, was Caprock, wasn't it? And there'd be a lot of people out there that possibly think, how was that? But just being able to separate, and I'm not potting Caprock, please, but just being able to separate the emotion, is that one of the tricks you think?
No.
Is that one of the tricks you think to breeding?
I'll put my... Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, for sure. So, putting the Alabar hat on, like, that's something that when we look at stallions, you've got to separate how much you love them as a racehorse versus how well or how successful you think they can be at stud, both commercially and later on the race, when their progeny hits the racetrack. So, no, it's definitely the same for breeders as well. Like, we can see, I'm not going to mention any names, but you can see a horse that races and you go, I love that racehorse. He was my favourite, but is he the right choice? Is he going to be a successful stallion? You've got to sort of separate those two things for sure. Like, And the idea in breeding should be to try and breed, the best foal that you can, and you have to separate that, the heart and the head there, I suppose, for sure.
And like just right at the minute, there's a great influx of Australian stallions, and I think people went to Bendigo last week and saw Ride High. They say, right, when he goes to stud, I'm going to go to him, but they possibly should take a step back, even though he was sensational and everyone wants to breed one of those. But just look at his pedigree, and it may not match up at all with your maternal line, and you're just doing it, out of hope. In 3 years' time, you've got a Ride High that you might be regretting. But on what I've seen, I don't think that's going to be the case either.
No, it's a pretty impressive horse, but you're right. Like, you do have to separate those things, and like if you've got a favourite stallion that you might have had a good horse by whoever, I don't know, whichever stallion, American Ideal, say, and then you've got a different mare. It might not match up with that mare. Might not match up well with American Ideal. So even though you had you bred a good American Ideal, now you might have to go to better choice might be another stallion, whichever, I don't know, Poster Boy or Vincent or something like that. That might be a better choice for that particular mare. So no, you've got to separate those two things, and you treat each individual mare and stallion on their own merits and make that decision. We've all got to have a love for what we're doing, but you've also got to separate that love and be a bit more calculated, I suppose.
This episode is brought to you by Alabar and Neville, mate. You can not be so diplomatic. You can pump up all the Alabar stallions every time you want. You are sponsoring it, so don't stress at all. But this is, it's not purely Alabar in any way, but I must say I think you're going pretty good at it. Danny McKinnon, has there been a stallion that on paper you thought would be great, but didn't get the opportunities due to health or broodmare sent to him?
Yeah, there's been lots of them over the years. One in recent times that comes to mind was probably Better Than Cheddar. I always liked him as a stallion, and I just thought he didn't get the opportunity that he deserved. And he's left a lot of good horses, but he didn't get the opportunity. So that's life. I'm not saying he was going to be as good as his dad, but I think he probably would have been a good stallion or a better stallion and had more, if he had better opportunity. So that's one that immediately comes to mind. But there'll be plenty of others that just, for whatever reason, they just don't get that early support, and that then kills you later on, because it's a competitive market.
The wife won't be happy with you. We've got a cheddar down the front paddock that's a superstar, and you've just deflated her big time. So she won't be. No,
but he's left some good horses. But from a commercial, if we're looking at it from a commercial point of view, especially with shuttle stallions, it's really hard to. They have to be really good to continue to be commercial, I suppose. But doesn't mean that he's left good horses. And I think he would have left a lot more if he had a better opportunity early on. So. I'm hoping yours will be a superstar for you.
Not as much as I am. Happy wife, happy life.
No, that's true.
Have you heard? I have heard a little bit about cycle breeding. What is it?
Cycle breeding was that was a theory. I remember reading about it as a kid. When I first read it, I probably dismissed it out of hand. But it was Nick would know this probably better than me, because it was around sort of in the early 90s or maybe even late 80s. It basically revolved around breeding. Oh geez, I'd have to look it up, honestly, Paul. I'd have to look it up because I can't even remember. But it was a theory around it. It just seemed bizarre to me, whatever the theory was. But I don't know. One of those wacky theories.
G, we might get Nick Hooper or even yourself might get in touch with Dot offline anyway, and we can discuss it with it from there.
Sure.
Today's Barrastock winner, Murphing. When do you think a mare is too old? And it's obviously this is your personal opinion, not so much proven. So,
I suppose there's two aspects to that. I think if she's left good horses before, I'd have no issue. Keep breeding her. If she hasn't left good horses, then you probably, in the first, say, 4 or 5 foals, you probably, you might be wasting your time and money on that particular mare. But in terms of if she's left good horses before, it then comes down to health, and the health of the mare, and also her outwardly, I suppose, if you like, and then also the health of her reproduction organs. One of the more underrated, or probably the most underrated aspect of a broodmare is her ability to have a foal. If you can't get a pregnancy and her either carry it through herself or through, if it's worth it, or you choose to do it through an embryo transfer, well, there's not much point breeding her because you need a foal to have a racehorse. So that's one of the things you quickly learn when you start breeding. If you go a couple of years without a foal, the expenses add up, and you wonder why you're doing it. So obviously, the older a mare gets, the more likely she's going to have those reproduction issues, as Kath went through in one of the earlier episodes. So it's a mare by mare basis with that. You can't put a definitive age on it, I don't think. And I would just say if she hasn't left you a good foal in, let's say, the first 4 or 5, she's probably not going to leave you a good foal later on in life. Not always the case, but as a general rule.
I can give a little bit of experience for this one. The mother of Union Alley and of Low High Liz, she's actually a world record holder. She only left every foal that only won one race. So I said to Maria, "This is silly. We're not going to ever get a champion or anything out of here." And she is still alive. She's lives in her life at a veterinary practice, but. Got rid of her, and we got Union Alley and Low High Liz, 2 of our best racehorses that we've had. So there is definitely no rhyme and reason. I'm reading these questions out in order here, Brett. But Nick Hooper, he's written one there somewhere. He's loving this. 1 hour down, 1 to go, 3 to go. He's backing us in, so he's firing questions through. And Sue Markle, and probably a little bit remiss of us not to have said this, but she has written here, I'll get what she wrote. I went too far down, I can't find it, I don't want to get out of sync. But basically trying to multitask, watching the footy, watching us, and also the APG online broodmare sale, which is closing this afternoon, I think, isn't it? We should have actually mentioned that. Great sponsors here with APG as well. And if you want to get involved in breeding, there's some great broodmares online to get involved with.
Yeah, there's some nice ones on there. So it probably is actually shutting it's a rolling off. So it might be even shutting now. It might have started shutting at 5, I think. So good work, Stu. Hopefully Sue's not watching the footy and bids on the wrong horse or something. So.
I hope she's a Carlton supporter, but I got a bad feeling she's not. But anyway, do you think that limiting the number of services per stallion per season is a good idea? Here's a controversial one for you, mate.
I think it's a good idea in theory, and I think if we're talking specifically about in Australia, I think it was poorly implemented, and a bit of a lack of consultation, I suppose, and the timing of it. Left a little bit to be desired, but then but there might be some movement there. I'm not sure, but we'll see.
Well, it's good at Canberra.
But just made it on the studs, especially we're talking about especially Alabar and Woodlands. It's Alabar and Nebula and Woodlands, I should say. It definitely it's caused us some headaches. There's no doubt about that, and also breeders trying to get into those. At Alabar, Captain Crunch, Mickey and Major, it definitely caused some issues and some stress and some disappointed breeders. But you deal with the hand you got. So
Crunch was booked out in a day, which was sensational for you guys in a way. But Outcrossing was mentioned. This is from Jenny Lewis as well, and welcome Jen. And Jen looks after the Warrigal School, so we might have to send Nick down there a couple of times, do a couple of lectures, and see if. The kids will walk out with a square backside, that's for sure. They'll be stuck there for 5 hours. Outcrossing was mentioned earlier, and that some breeders try to do this. What are they hoping to gain by this particularly, Brett?
It's just a different way of constructing a pedigree. So some breeders like to have inbreed and have the crosses up close. Others like to mix it up a bit, and I don't think there's anything. There's particularly wrong. There's nothing wrong with trying to outcross as much as you can. It's just, as Sue said, it's getting a little bit more harder. But if you go to Europe, they place a lot more emphasis on that sort of outcrossing. They have like an index of inbreeding, which will give you a percentage of how inbred that horse is. And generally, they like to keep it low. So But if you look, as I said, with the Americans, they tend to inbreed a bit more over there. So the outcross is just I suppose not trying to inbreed. So it's just a matter of mixing it up a bit and keeping the pedigree less or more diverse, I should say. So yeah.
Do breeders, this is not one that's been asked, this is actually for me, do breeders plan for the future? Can you see, like say at the minute, there's Art Major, Bettor's Delight. Do you breed now to try and get that outcross that you can get on the next wave coming through? Is there the big breeders that actually try to do that?
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Some breeders do it. Yep. I know, like when Bob McCarter was still around, selling his Falcon Sealster semen, which was never seemed to be never ending. But a lot of his selling point was, he bred and you try to get a filly by Falcon Sealster. And Falcon Sealster brood mares, excellent brood mares, and a lot of breeders did that because he's a massive outcross to everything we've got now, because it's just that Brett Hanover line, which. So that's definitely something, or some person, people might have bred to some beach somewhere, or Mach 3, or even now bred to Captain Treacherous to try and get that little bit, it's not the Arts Place or the No Nukes or the Campbella line. It's a different line where you then got more options. If you get a filly in future, you got more options to breed it to. So, I think definitely, yeah, they definitely think about that. And I know, looking at brood mares for Alabar, I've tried to, would be great to get some more Sun Beach Somewhere mares, because it just gives you, a wider range of options when you're trying to match up what stallions to go to them.
Very good. Jenny Lewis again, do you think that temperament comes more from the stallion or the mare? This is a great one.
That's a great question. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you get... I don't know. It's a really good question. I'd say probably more from the mare, but you do get some really positive influences from the stallions as well. Like, I know Art Majors are generally, I think what's one of the good things about them is they've been such great tempered horses. Really easy to get along with, willing horses. And that helps when you're breaking them in or training them. But you'll get, temperament can definitely be a maternal thing as well. You see a lot of families, you get to know some maternal families, and you'll get to know what sort of traits they have as well. So it can come from both. What the percentage breakdown is, I don't know. It's probably an individual case as well.
So it's one of those ones that probably needs to be measured, but it's a near impossible one to
measure. Yeah, exactly. I suppose I'd say if I had a bad-tempered mare, I wouldn't breed it to a bad-tempered stallion. You'd want to try and breed that out of it, because it's not much fun, especially as trainers would know or breakers would know. It's not much fun dealing with a bad-tempered horse.
No, well, fortunate enough, I had Al Golden Goddess here for a little while, and she's an Art Major, and then you watch Ride High walking around the other day, and I think that's one thing that definitely helps Art Majors, especially the good ones, is it seems to be their temperament around the place, and then race day, they've just got this brilliant temperament. They seem to know when the racing's on. Bettor's Delights, they're different. They come in all different shapes and sizes, and they're probably more characters, I suppose, in a roundabout way. You'd say the Art Majors are probably the more polished. The Bettor's Delights they've all got a tale to tell, that's for sure. Where are we up to? I've done Sue's. Noel Ridge, cycle breeding has been statistically disproven. I'm happy with that. I'm happier with the next one, because I know the term cycle breeding, but know nothing about it. It's probably the first time Nick Hooper's known nothing about breedings.
It would be the first time, yeah. So I'd have to go back and read about it, but it never made any sense to me. So it just seems stupid. But anyway, someone came up with it at some point. So.
Noel Ridge, I'm very happy with this one. Carlton 40, West Coast 27. I'm not as happy about that as the next part. I think he went to write third quarter, but he's a school teacher, and he tells me every time I put a word wrong. So I'm very happy with the way he spelt third there. I think it's definitely right. 3-0 quarter. So unless he's being tongue in cheek, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Desiree is obviously a Carlton supporter as well as Sue Markle is. Well done, Sue. You're coming up in the pecking order all the time. Shane last. Where do you find independent pedigree matches? There's a great question.
Yeah, that is a good question. There's a few. There's not many as there used to be, but there are a few options out there. Maybe we can get we can put a list together and post it on the Facebook page or in the comments maybe from HBB's point of view. But yeah, there's not as many as there was, but there are some out there still. So we can probably put a list together and post that, I'd say.
All right, we'll be in touch with you with that one. Shane last. Shane Glowry, how inbred is too inbred? This is probably a better question for Nick Hooper, I think. But anyway, how inbred is too inbred?
Exactly. For me, like what Nick and Paul did with Utopia, that's too inbred for me, but it's worked for them. Like I wouldn't personally go any closer than 3x3. 2x3 is too close for me, but it does, like Utopia's a nice horse. Read about Lexi, who's by a sports writer out of Grenfell Weirmere. Group winner. So I wouldn't do it personally. 3x3 is as close as I'd go, but everyone's to their own, and you're willing to push the limits, you might get results. So yeah, but not for me.
And to watch a horse like Utopia, it might change a few more people's opinions, because if he keeps getting better and better, God help everyone else if he does. But if he does get better and better, there might be people looking at it. So yeah, it's well worth just looking at his pedigree, exactly. and then the beauty of now is you can monitor what that horse is going to do for another season. If you don't want to breed this season, you've got it there. We've made everyone aware of it, and I'm sure Nick Hooper will make everyone aware of it going through. But just it's.
He's a good promoter, isn't he? So everyone that has any interest in standardbreds will know about it for sure.
Absolutely, but he's great for it. The best person to ask about temperament is the breakers. They have often complaints about certain sires, and I do agree with that, Sue. But having broken in a lot of horses too, you can make a big call on a horse breaking them in, and then you bring them back in, and they're totally different. And I think that's where you just got to. Sometimes I think breakers can be the worst enemy as well, potentially even for a sire, because they might be a bit of a handful, but if they come back better the next time, then you say, well, they've got a good brain. So yeah, I definitely listen to the breakers, but I always worry a bit too myself.
Yeah, and as you said, and I know, not that I've had a lot to do with Betters Delight, progeny of Betters Delight, but I know some of them you hear they just don't pace straight away. Some of them, and yet when it clicks, whatever happens in their brain or when it clicks in, they don't stop pacing. And then they go on to be really good horses. So you're right, it can take a little bit of time. So you just need to balance that view out, I suppose. Yeah. As Sue said, the breakers do have that experience, but they maybe just give them a bit more time, and even sometimes if they're badly behaved, doesn't mean they're not going to be good racehorses. So they could just be a bit hot, or you just got to work with them. So.
Saw trotting mare last night by use to me of I'm Set to Go.
Yep.
She's a beautiful mare on the up. There's no worries there. And if you watch her doing a pre-parade, she's as quiet as they come. But when it's race time, she's a totally different mare. And I tell you, you'd love to have one. Used to me stands for a very cheap service fee. But there's definitely two of her. I'm sure there's probably more than two of her. But we're getting beaten to footy now. Someone's managed to share that with us, Brett, too. It's just come across my feed. Justin Baker, great session, Brett. Incredibly insightful, as always. Great to have Justin involved, and I think he could be someone going forward with the industry. I'm fortunate enough to see a little bit of what he's been doing over there, and we need to get Justin more involved in the breeding industry for sure. Now, we've got a couple of people here about a list would be good and pedigree matching. Desiree shared with me here page 19 of the 2020 Stallion Guide, which is on the website, which is above your head there, above Brett's head, vicharnessbreeders.org.au. Page 19, you'll get your independent pedigree matches there, so which is good. And she's also put a couple of links in here as well, which is really, really good. And yeah, of course, it would be a Richmond supporter that would fire in the fact that Eagles are back in front of us, wouldn't it? So we haven't missed him too much. We've got to get a couple more things done, Brett. So we'll see if we get any more questions come through as they come through. One thing I was remiss of me to say, anyone that's watching this and has enjoyed it, please like Harness Breeders Victoria's Facebook page as well, so Desiree can get contact with you. I'm going to continue to do more of these things going forward with you guys, but there's also going to be a lot more getting done in the field, so there'll be a lot of more promotions going forward. We've only got a few more episodes to go, so please get on and like and follow that page. That would be really, really good. Steve Johnson, awesome insight, Brett. Ian and I have been having a beer listening. I think Brett would like a beer right about now, but he was drinking a coffee before, so it was all good. I'm surprised no one's mentioned the bow ties either, so nothing's come up there. Episodes still to come, Brett. We've got, I don't know what happened. Oh yes, I do. I know exactly what happened then. It's all good. I had a panic attack. August 16 next week. I'm not sure exactly if we're doing one of these versions, what are they called, Zoom versions, or if we will be over there talking to Kath, but I'm very, very fascinated by this one. It's called the Madigan foal technique. I've seen it, I've heard a few people, I know Craig Judd absolutely raves about it, so I think that will be incredibly insightful. That'll be 4 o'clock next Sunday afternoon on both these channels that you're watching it. The following Sunday we'll be with Dr. Sarah Gray, and hopefully I'll be able to get across there and showcase what Harass the Trotter are doing over there, and it's just the importance of foaling down, which will be incredibly insightful and be right on the money too as far as timing goes, because there'll be a lot of people getting ready to foal down. And then episode 10, and I'm going to say the last one, but it definitely probably won't be, but right at the minute we haven't gone any further with them, but getting a positive test as far as in when your horse's mare is in foal. So that'll be also very good. That'll be back with Dr. Kath McIntosh back at Northern Rivers Equine going forward. So we've got a few of those still to go, and there's a couple of others. Sue Markle sent through a couple of good little ideas. There's a few things milling around, I suppose, and even from Vic Breeder's point of view, you guys have got a few announcements to come, but they're just not quite there at the minute, so hopefully they'll be up and going.
Yep. No, this series has been really good, and those last few are really important. Getting your mare in foal, super important. Following it down, incredibly important. That's an area where a lot of people can learn more and do better. Because you spend all that money trying to get that mare in foal and then get her in foal, and then you need to just take that precaution when she's foaling. So that's going to be a fascinating addition with Sarah.
I think also with that episode, I think a lot of people might be sitting back and saying, well, I don't foal them down, so I don't have to worry about that. But when you get your vet bill and you say, oh, look what they've charged, and talking from Alabar, Neville, I'm sure every stud, Empire, every stud that's involved with this show will agree that you always get a phone call from at least one person saying, how dare you charge that much? You'll get an understanding of what actually is going on behind the scenes. So there's a lot more to it than just watching a mare foal and picking them up.
No, 100%. It's nice when they just do that, when they just foal and everything, and they get up and everything's fine. So often you have little complications or large complications. So there's a lot that goes into following a mare down, and that's going to be a really good addition. Absolutely.
I'm a bit superstitious when they actually do that. I go and make myself a coffee and just sit there and watch them, because something's going to happen, because it's never it is never that easy. Jared Maloney's trying to dare us to go for another 2 hours. Won't be happening, Jared, that's for sure.
I've got Nick Hooper's book here, Stallions. Maybe we can start reading that, just reading pages about it. Still available, I think, from good and bad bookstores.
We've got, is it available online? Surely it's on the website.
I'd say so, yeah. It had to be on there somewhere. Somewhere in the deep, dark recesses of the internet, that book's available for sale.
Jenny Lewis has asked us a serious one. Is there any thoughts on race mares and their ability to leave a good horse based on how many race starts they have had? Meaning, are they less likely to have good horses if they've had 50 starts or 100 starts? Is there any correlation in the research, Brett?
There's no scientific, study being done on it. I know a lot of people dislike a horse that's had a lot of starts. I'm not as anti that as some people. I have arguments with my dad about it, but I know, so I suppose if you've got I don't know. I'd prefer a mare not to have that many starts, but if they do, I don't think it's the end of the world either, personally, as long as they're showing good performance on the track,
Yep. Steve Johnson's asked one here. Do you believe there is a significant difference between chilled and frozen semen to success? And I do know there's a bit of research done on this one.
In terms of the
sorry.
Yeah, in terms of the racetrack performance, no, I've got no issue with frozen semen producing, good racehorses or whatever. I think I know there was, when it first came out, and same with embryo transfers and that sort of thing, there was this knock on it. But no, I don't think so. I mean, your conception rates are less and that sort of thing, and it's more effort to get a mare in foal with frozen. But no, in terms of racetrack performance, I don't think there's any issue there.
We need to get a kickback if he sells one of these. Nick Hooper, DM me people for a copy of the book, $30 plus postage and handling, that's for sure. Also, we've got to give away, get a chance for one of your members today to win. I've got to try and find, I've got all these little logos here, and I've just lost where he was, and I think, it's fine, we'll go across that way to Ultimate Machete. Do you call it Machete or Machete?
Machete.
Yeah. I wasn't sure. As I said, I was pretty happy before with Noel Ridge getting a spelling mistake. It made my day. That's for sure. What does he stand for, Brett? What's he standing for this season?
2750 in Australia, so 2,500 plus GST.
Yeah, well, it's a great prize. The lid is still on, just so people can't say that I'm doing it, because I am officially alone. This is actually the Kentucky Equine bucket. I had a little bit of trouble getting it off backhand, I must say. So this week's winner for the free service to Ultimate Machete is Rodney Marcia from Lower Belford. Rodney Marcia, well done. He's a full member. I don't personally know him, but well done. You've won yourself a free service fee simply by being a member of Harness Breeders Victoria, and that's how simple it is, isn't it? And Brett, I must say, what you guys are doing is terrific. All of you, I think you're up and going. Probably showing a few other organisations, perhaps in harness racing, how it can be done, trying things a little bit differently. And just the feedback we get off this, I'm not sure how many comments we've had today, but we've had some massive comments coming back. So going from there, I've had a few other questions come through. I'll find my phone. Jared Maloney, surely a viewer listener prize. We did try to do that, Jared. We were looking at doing. Not sure what's going on here. I've lost half my questions. Viewer listener prize, but we want people to be rewarded for being a member of Vic Harness Breeders. That's the whole idea of it. So to join in, you win your $350 compliments of barra stock, and we well and truly appreciate them getting involved and doing that. And that was the reason for that. Yes, copy of the book go to the viewer as picked by Brett. So you get to pick someone who's going to get a free book by the looks from Nick Hooper. I'm not sure on that. Oh no, that's what he's saying. Okay, sorry, Jared saying that. That's actually good there. When they start having these conversations, this is where I get confused and the like. So yeah, so it's yeah. Okay, so someone you can pick someone that's going to win the free copy of the book, Brett. You can do that one. Nellie Melba said, just have long pockets when it comes to frozen semen. As I said, Nellie, just keep following these podcasts. webinars, and you'll get an understanding of where it comes from, and go from there. And I think I'm just about up to date. No, I've got 2 more comments coming through. I'll try and get through them all. I don't want to leave anyone behind, but how good is that? Runners up. I'm getting myself a little bit lost. I think these guys are having a private conversation, so I'll stay out of stay out of that for the minute. Brett, thank you very much, mate, for giving a bit of insight into pedigrees and matches. I would you might tell me off for this, but people can contact yourself through Alabar, and look, Neville are, we've got Woodlands, all harassed to try to just come up there as well. Any of these places. If you're worried about your pedigree, go through these independent places, but also ring the studs and talk to them. They want to increase their progeny. They don't want to increase their numbers. That's the best part they're after. They're trying to get winners, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah. No, we're happy to have a look at your mare for you and provide the advice. And I'd like to think that most studs, while they obviously favour their own stallions, they'll give you advice and so no, definitely willing to help for sure.
Very, very good, mate. Well, we'll call it a day. One last one. This one's actually a serious one. Brett, there is a study about the correlation between racetrack success and resilient foal success. So I don't know how we can answer that one because we don't know. Sue's saying there is a study, so we might try and find that, but we don't actually have that. I don't think you have it, do you, Brett?
Yeah. No. I know there's been some stuff in thoroughbreds, but I thought, in terms of the actual number of starts, I don't know whether there's any, but maybe there is. I'm not sure there's there's been any studies into the number of starts that a mare's had in the progeny success, but maybe there is. And Sue, I might even contact Sue, offline and see what, see about that. So it could be interesting.
As I said, we've got 3 more episodes to go, but I don't think it'll be the end of them. We're trying to get a few more up and go from there. There's plenty of topics that have been brought up by a lot of people. Thank you very much, Nellie Melba. Thank you. She thanked us both. I'm not sure how we're going in the footy, mate. We won't worry too much about that. And Brett, all you have to do is end the Zoom meeting, mate. Once I say it, it's all good to go. But thank you very much. We'll be back next Sunday, 4:00. With Dr. Kath McIntosh. I thoroughly recommend it. It's a little bit different to watch, but it's a unique technique to hopefully minimise the costs that a few people are coming on about there. Sue, has anyone that wants to know that correlation, that study that's been done, she's actually linked that into this feed. So if you're watching it, go to the feed, the comments. And Sue, thank you very much. You're going right up in the pecking order now. I think once you're a Carlton supporter, you're well and truly at the top of the list anyway. But maybe we can get Nick can send Sue a book. Maybe she can be the winner of our next book. Well done. Very, very good. Good effort. All right, mate. Thank you so much. And as I said, we'll do it.
All right. Thanks very much, Paul.
We'll be back.
Thanks, listeners.
We'll be back next Sunday. Thank you, mate.